Good 400! Welcome everyone to episode 400 of the Mere Mortals. Yes, indeed. You do have Kyron here.
You got one here, and it is for the 400. I just got a notification. It's the 9th of July, 2023, and we ran episode 400, so you got one here as well.
Yep, so we are recording this actually a little bit pre-hand because we actually have a Bucks party on the weekend before, so we're going to do a little pre-recording, and this one is actually going to be a very focused one. So normally in Meanderings, we just dive off into different topics and whatever it is that we've been thinking about recently. No, this one is related to my monthly goals, actually, which was I wanted to have a real good discussion with you about the, I guess, podcast future, direction, some business decisions, I think. Yep. And, I was actually looking at this and I was going, maybe it's better to do this off air because I got some spicy questions for you right at the end. At the end. And I went, you know what? I'm not even sure some of these we'd want to put out. And then I had some experiences recently, which I'll talk about, and basically just made me go, if we need to, we can cut those ones at the end. So there might be some cutting. And the main, one of the great things about value for value is actually the transparency. And I think we do that well. And I wanted to do that. So, but yeah, just for episode 400, man. What a journey, eh?
I guess we'll try to be transparent in today's conversation, but yes, we might have some latitude in some of the conversations that happen towards the tail end. So if you see that, then you understand. But yes, episode 400. So, if you have stuck around with us, I would only say that there would be a handful of people who have stuck around since the very, very beginning, the sense that
I don't think anyone.
Well, family members, maybe some friends. If anyone out there if you have listened to every single episode we've ever put out, kudos. I won't even say kudos. You deserve a prize. Well done. Thank you very much for sticking around for that entirety of the time. So I guess today's conversation is going to be, it's slightly probably going to be a look back in terms of what we've tried and what we've done before in the podcast.
Correct, yeah.
And then what are we thinking about in moving towards the future? And once again, this is a part where we might, as we go through, put some questions to you folks, Mere Mortal Lights at Home, of, okay, what are some things that you might be seeing that we should be doing as well? Could it be influencing the things we're doing now? And as we start articulating what we're thinking in the future, you can kind of give us some guidance as well. Yes, no, maybe so. What should we be doing?
Yeah,
so,
for sure.
What do you want to begin with in this episode? 400?
Okay, so I got a whole lot of notes here, man. Okay. Let's start off with the video aspect. So basically one of the things I've just been thinking recently was I don't want to stop the video, but I want to stop as a lot of the effort that I'm putting into it, especially when it comes to ones where I'm not creating clips from it. So these, totally cool, because we're outdoors, got the good cameras, that's great. The conversations which I have in person or even that have good video quality. So for example, if you look at the video quality between the one I did with Pete Smithen and the one I did with Chris Fisher, Chris's was just a lot more blurry. He was in a darker room. I just looked at it and I went, man, the clips that I create from this won't be visually appealing. So that's kind of the point of creating a clip. And, we've been doing video since the very get-go, and what I have just learned from that is there's just no real point, I think, for the ones which just aren't like that. The people just don't watch them, to be honest. And I'm sick of creating long things which people aren't watching.
So when you're saying, so you're talking specifically on the long form video,
right? Long form videos that I post on YouTube, they get 16 views, and I'm at least 3 or 4 of them because I jump to and from that because I'm copying links and checking that it's going good and things.
So it's specifically the amount of effort that it takes to create the long form to how much it's being viewed is just okay, this is not valuable.
Yeah.
Is that also coming to the consideration of, okay, and then the subsequent short clips that might come from it?
Well, that's the thing. We're not
views, perhaps.
No. Well, because I'm not. I have tried creating some clips, and you created some from one of the crappier looking videos, I would say, or it's 1080p.
Yep.
They're not as high quality. They just don't really seem to do anything, to be honest. And I feel like I'm at the max clip capacity already. So adding more on top of that, I'm not sure is going to do anything.
So I think, so you're feeling, so you were talking through all of the past episodes, we've definitely done the video clips, the high-end video clips, and try to make it as crisp and the lighting and everything like that. is your suggestion you're thinking through as we move forward that we do like things like meanderings or outdoors? Yep, we'll definitely still have the video qualities and the clipping and whatnot. But when we do, so as an example for people maybe listening at home, what would be one that you won't see videos anymore for this?
Well, so the live ones, for example, I don't mind doing the video as long as I have to put in zero effort, basically. So what I'm thinking is, I've got my whole process of I create chapters, and then because the live video has a section at the start, I have to alter all the timestamps, and I have to copy from here and onto the other section. I'm thinking just do the live video, and then I've just got a note at the top saying, check it if you want chapters, if you want all the good stuff, go check out the audio.
Gotcha.
So using the...
Right, so not even putting the effort around the chapters and what, like the timing and all that in the videos. Gotcha.
No, because no one's watching it. No one's using it. So, this is kind of getting into the... What do we want to become? And I look at podcasts like Lex and, Joe Rogan, Andrew Huberman, and things like that. And I just don't think that I particularly want to be like them, to be honest. And this will get into the kind of branding section, but I'll save that for a little bit. So one of the other things is, even with the clips, to be honest, man. So we get a lot of negative comments in there. And
well, let's say
straight up negative. This is a fake podcast. What's this fucking baldy talking about?
Well,
there's a lot of that.
Well, no, but be specific. Are you saying we get negative comments on every single clip, or do you get negative comments on a lot of the ones?
No. That's even ones where it's non-controversial.
Gotcha.
It's just someone chucking out some random stuff.
Sure.
And there was this recent thing on the Pod News Weekly where James was ranting against Joe Rogan, and it was very much he doesn't like Joe Rogan. So
right.
He was having this full rant against him, saying he's an awful man.
Right.
Blah, blah, blah. And
do you know what the basis for that was?
He has a grudge against him.
Okay.
Yeah. Don't need more context. And he got a Boostergram in saying, like, James, you're a hateful person. You need to blah, 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 blah. Like, basically a very kind of negative comment towards James.
Sure.
But he got paid for that, and it was kind of like, well, if people are calling me a baldy and whatnot, that's fine. I don't really care that much, but I would like to get paid for it if you're going to do that. If it's taking up my mental space, my mental energy, I would like that at the very least. So it's just, I just got to say, like the YouTube experiment that we've been doing the past 3 years, I would say I haven't put enough effort into becoming a YouTuber.
That's a fair call.
And
I would say
I don't want to.
Yeah, I would say equivalently for both of us.
Yeah,
that's
when I say
true.
I haven't,
in the sense that
both of us.
When you think of, hey, you want to excel at YouTube and get the great money that comes from that, or in other social media platforms, you really have to go real heavy with it. That could be from you think of
great money is
you think from like Mr. Beast type perspective, where you're making millions of dollars, but you're spending millions of dollars in your production values and what you're putting out and what you're putting together. So you can go all the way to that high-end looking view, or you make money in, well, as you say, in harnessing the, I wouldn't some part of good, but a lot of the bad of humanity, in that you bring in this challenges, this chaos, this, I'm going to post something purely for the infuriation that it might make a lot of people cause, or have this havoc between people conversing, where I guess the outcome of making money from it is achieved, but in other qualities, is it good? Nah, maybe not. Maybe not the way. And I don't know, I've never, maybe there was only, of the last 400 episodes and, the last 3+ years that we've been doing this, almost coming up to 4 years, I go, have I ever looked at YouTube as where we're going to be making our money? Not really. Not necessarily. But I guess in challenge to what you've been saying, because I think you're moving towards a path now where you're looking to potentially travel again and be abroad. And so the reality of creating clips and time that it takes and doing a lot of editing, that's just not realistic.
Yeah.
Really, from that perspective. I guess I'm starting to move down more of a path of, actually, I want to get even more quality. Even more, I want to even use more video in the videos. Absolutely. So like YouTube. More, but less volume. And I guess here's a differentiation for, as you see from the podcasting perspective, I think in some of our long form conversations, I agree that some of the videos, for just the video's sake for the long form, It's not really useful. And at least now, or maybe people can correct me at home, if you listen to us in a long form on video on YouTube, please someone message us and tell us this. But even I know myself personally, the ones that I've seen on long form on video, like on a YouTube, sometimes been Jocko, really, Lex Friedman, sometimes a few others. But to be frank, I've never watched a full podcast episode on YouTube. Never, ever, ever have I done that.
So I have.
And you have.
I do that a
so
lot.
you do. Now,
Yeah.
so I'm not saying that no one does, but certainly I don't. And then I go, even on podcast players, say Joe Rogan on Spotify, I don't watch, they've got the video quality to enable it there to watch the full video. I still don't watch this video. Normally, still day to day, the way I consume podcasts is not watching a screen, it's listening. So that does make me reflect on, okay, doing a podcast with video qualities to create eventual clips, look, that's fine. Like, are we doing outdoors? Yeah, because while the majority of our individuals might not listen to this in a video format, they will listen to it in an audio format, and then we'll be able to create clips from it and create lots of value from that in different ways. Totally happy with that.
We'll talk about that as well.
So I kind of started stretching my way to, all right, from whether it's the books, right, when we're talking about our Mere Mortals, books channel, or a book review, some of the things that I'm wanting to progress down in the future as well, I go, okay, if I want to do that, I want to do it properly, I would want to do video, but have it on the high quality end, but most certainly not in this volume, long form, tedious editing that no one's going to check out. And so that's where I'm kind of landing into, where I'm not going to be spending an hour editing like hour-long videos with images and the like for, as you say, very minimal amount of people, because I personally know that's not the way I consume them. However, the way I consume podcasts or things is through listening through audio, so I want that to be sharp and good. But secondly, it might be clips, and so I do need it to be at a high-quality end of camera use, let's just say, for instance. And so, whether that comes to, at the moment we've got 2 cameras, in my mind I go, hey, so in that relation, I'd go, okay, maybe investing in another extra camera to have at a particular location would be a doable thing if it enables me to have higher quality than just 1080p. So I guess those are some of my thoughts as we venture into this one.
Yeah, I'll kind of sum up just my learnings. One, YouTube is a platform we don't own. So if we get good on there, if you get tons of subscribers, you're very much at the mercy of the whims of YouTube.
Yep.
So just from a kind of strategic standpoint, I don't like it. The energy input is not equaling the output. If we were getting lots of comments, for example, on the long form ones, which we're not, every one of those episodes has 0 comments on it.
True.
Of the long form ones. I think the quality is high enough, especially these ones, the meandering outdoor ones. I think visually they look good. Yeah, sure, we could have a third camera, but I mean, most of them don't. Lex doesn't for most of his time.
Sorry, specifically a third camera. I didn't mean here. I mean, it might local to be used. Yeah.
But even just in for this. And I created a mini clip just to remind myself from Adam Curry talking about this. But, and when I look at the people who I want to emulate, I would rather be like Adam Curry and Chris Fisher rather than Lex Friedman and Jocko. And they focus more on the audio side of things, and they have a list of reasons for that as well. I won't repeat them all here, but yeah. So that's kind of like the long form one. I'll still put them out, but just there's going to be way less effort.
Sure.
There used to be this obligation in my mind, like I've got to create a long form thing for everyone. I've got to release it at this time. It's just it's taken me like 3.5 years to realize, it doesn't really matter that much.
Right.
The clips. So what you're talking about how they were kind of important. So why are they important, I guess? So just from your perspective, what could you use to judge the metrics of it's doing what you want it to do? What do you want it to do? And I've got some thoughts on that, but I'd like to know yours.
So I think the clips, so ultimately the eyeballs on watching what you're doing, and from a video perspective, so purely the metric of impressions, not useful in the end outcome. And here the end outcome, what am I optimizing for, is build a community of people who watch the Mere Mortals and will in some way, shape or form want to provide value back to us because we're providing value back to them. And so in a clip format, my mentality is, okay, what I want to optimize for is clips or items, like we're talking like a minute, 90 seconds video clips from things that we're creating that give people a bit of an insight into, okay, what we've talked about have some value that maybe wants them to makes them go and listen to the long form or points them to whatever it is that we're talking about that's interesting, encourages participation, but ultimately of some portion of those wants to connect through to the mere mortals, as whether it's, the way that people can support us through Boostgrams or, as we're setting up the Patreon stream, things like that. Not Patreon stream, PayPal on our website. So through those formats, that's the encouragement of the clips. Less specifically at the stage on impressions, followers. Now, that being said, we don't know where the future of things of a lot of social media go through. We've just seen recently Instagram threads sort of come out. That's giving some insights that it might, allow you to bring over your followers into other streams like Mastodon and other places. So, that might shift the mentality of some of these things that we're doing if it builds up community in that perspective. At least for me, I go, it's beneficial if it increases the participation of people in our mere mortals, ecosystem, which that includes getting us value back through the formats that we're making available.
So my general thoughts are clips are good for building followers on a platform. Once again, a platform that we don't get to control, but I think there's a game to be played and that game can be useful. So what can you do with them? I think if you have a lot, it does open some doors. If you've got 10, 20,000 followers on somewhere and you do a call to reach out to a guest that you want to have on, that is a lot more impactful than if you have 200. So there is a benefit for that,
certainly,
which can pay some kind of like longer hidden dividends, which you don't get to see.
For sure.
But I think that is in there. One of the things that Adam Curry and John C. Dvorak say on No Agenda is the email is kind of one of their crucial components in letting the people know, new episode is coming out. This is what we're going to be talking about in this one. Reminder. And the big thing is the reminder. This is a value for value show. We can't continue without your support. I think that I could somewhat see the Instagram or the Facebook or whatever becoming our mechanism for that. We haven't focused on trying to get people's emails. I don't particularly want to get people's emails. I don't know about you. Could just be me. I don't use email much. I feel like it's a dying technology in some ways because it's just, they're taking it out of the RSS feeds, for example. People are being a bit more private about it. I don't know. Maybe it's that's one of the things that will stay around. One of the good things about emails is it's one of those platform non-dependent. If you have someone's email, you can always reach out to them, even if you get blocked off your email client of Outlook. You can just, if you have that list, you just move on to Proton Mail or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, that's a big way. I mean, Tim Ferriss talks about it. Others like James Clear and a few others who've turned blogs into books. That's one of the main metrics that's used to sell to a book company in relation to, hey, I can make a book and I can sell because I've got 2 million people subscribed via email, so I can send it out to them. And I can turn this into a percentage of sales. Yeah.
I think our problem is neither of us are text guys. We don't exceed in the writing of things down. And I think that would be kind of our shortcoming. Mm-hmm. But we could make up for that by creating engaging clips, which I think we do. And that can be our kind of feeder mechanism in terms of like reminding people there's a show, hey, we need your support. And I can see those platforms, even though we're relying on the platform, if we've got 5 of them, and I think that could be a useful tool in the tool chest. So
in acquiring emails from people.
No, I don't think email. I have no real interest in trying to get people's emails. This is one of those trade-offs where I'd go, I think I'm a lot more comfortable with the centralized, taking that bet, that gamble on the centralized platforms not kicking us off, and us using our natural skills, being more visual and audio creative and animated rather than text, because I'm not a good writer. I'm not going to create engaging emails.
Sure.
I don't know how to do that, and it's not a natural skill that I have. My worst subject in high school was English, by far. So, it's just one of those ones where I go, the clips I think are good for building what we want to build, and that building will actually be on more centralized platforms rather than something like email, which is more decentralized.
Sure.
So the other one, just in terms of video, was the live aspect. So being able to do things live, that does get more engagement from people. And I'm only just starting to test it out now with the Value for Value show. If that goes well, I want to move on to the book reviews. If that goes well, I want to personally reach out to Buzzsprout and be like, hey, just give me this small access to my own RSS feed. I acknowledge like the risks, but this is how I can go, pending, live, ended, and that's just like a broadcast mechanism, and it works well on the. So I sent in a big row of ducks to the podcasting 2.0.
Yep.
And I was telling one, that's a relatively large number. That'll get some people talking and whatnot. Man, we got absolutely overshadowed because one dude sent in 1.1 million, 101, eight ones in a row.
Yeah.
And I just went first of all, dang, absolutely overshadowed us. Good on you. I think that was Stephen Bell. But they get a lot of support from people doing it live, and we're doing it live, and I think that'll.
Okay.
That's kind of one of the things to focus on. Cool. All right, video. So that's kind of our positions on that.
Okay.
Branding. What do you think of the multiple shows versus single effort? So we've talked about this in the past, and we talked about how our initial things, and especially you were saying, Jocko tried this. He tried multiple podcasts. He brought it all back into one. This other person tried multiple streams. He brought it back into one. And I look at that, and then I look at, once again, Adam Curry and Chris Fisher, and what they do is they have multiple shows. They've got, Curry and the Keeper. They've got No Agenda. They've got Podcasting 2.0. He had one called MoFax, and he's going to start up a new live music one.
Yep.
Or music billboards charts type one. Chris Fisher the same with all of his Linux shows and self-hosting and things. What are your thoughts on that in terms of branching out versus moving in again?
Well, I think let's just be specific of what it means branching out. You're talking about
multiple podcasts.
But again, to be very clear, you mean separate podcasting RSS feeds?
Correct. Yeah.
Right. So we're talking. So let's just say we wanted to create a new one around handstands or something about
fitness. I think fitness would be.
It would be underneath the same. So it wouldn't be like you wouldn't find it in the stream of the Mere Mortals podcast. It would be under a new one called Mere Mortals Fitness.
Something like
that. Right. Yeah, I still think that I would love to see more numbers around it, because so those that you just presented around Adam Curry, Chris Fisher, I go, okay, cool. Give me some more examples. Someone give me some more examples of where people having multiple podcasts very separate to each other worked better than having the single one where everything came from. I kind of go, so I gave the example of Lex. There was the example of Jocko. Tim has done this as well. He stopped doing that as well. At the very large end, at the very broad scale at least, podcast I'm seeing doesn't work that well, or at least people are pulling back away from it. Now, is that because their ultimate outcome there or optimization is, okay, we want to have as much eyeballs on the one product? Maybe it works our way. In the Chris Fisher example, so I wonder for Chris Fisher, is it, at the moment, let's just say, trying to be transparent, how much is he making per year income-wise on all these different podcasts, right? Are we talking $10 million? Are we talking...
No way. It'd be enough to get by for him, a couple of people that he hires. I would be thinking probably in the $500,000 range, if I had to guess.
Right, across all of them. So I go multiply by 10 times in viewership. Let's say 10 times. And now that might not translate to 10 times the earnings. We'll just say 10 times the viewership. I go, if it was 10x that above that, would the same principles apply? As in having the multiple different podcasts work better? Or at that point, as you start getting even bigger, as I go, actually, it's even better just having it on one go. And then, you 10x it. And perhaps, as Tim says, not every single podcast is for everybody, and you might only get a certain percentage of your viewership. He said, I can't remember if it was 20% or something like that. But I think it's so you only get 20% of your viewership checking out each and every single one. but you have a larger base who's going to continuously come and check in when they feel it to be important. I kind of go, well, is there, by the numbers, I would love to see, does it get to a point that's actually, it's not worth having multiple, you actually get a better buck for your money in terms of having it all in one, even though you're going to get as much viewership because you've got a broader base and it's actually easier to manage than having multiple. So here's an example. Now, my answer, I'm not sure. I was thinking in my mind, okay, in the following year, I want to start a particular podcast of, I'll be putting down my training, my like daily training basically on a week basis. And, I think it got a total of like 60 views or 70 views on the page. So I went, okay, I'm going to stop doing it for a few weeks because obviously there's not enough eyeballs for me to be doing it for whatever reason. It was taking some effort for me to actually do that. Let's say half an hour for me to put it together. But I'm still doing it internally to my own view. And then one of the things I thought, this could be a pretty easy one, maybe valuable for people, is to create a podcast where I basically do the webpage, put it together, and actually talk through the week's training in terms of, hey, this is what I'm doing, this is the reason, hey, this didn't work, this sort of training for this particular reason, this is week 7 of Hat Squat, this is whatever, right? And so there might be some value in the very minutiae of training that I'm doing. That, at the very least for me, I go, okay, well, it would encourage me to put the website again together, but also would only be an extra 20 minutes for me to just quickly record something that's already presented. I'm just using a visualization. It's very easy for me to create. So I kind of want to do that. I don't know when I will begin it, but I don't want to just start a brand new RSS podcast feed. No fucking way. There's no way I want to just create brand new branding, brand new training style, brand new. So for me, it's like, it's another area to manage. It's another whole set of commentary to manage, because as you start spreading out and you've got no one else sort of supporting you, I go, well, I don't want to go flicking between, like, what would you mind do now between a Valley for Valley or Spanglish reseñas or something like that, to go and check out other comments, to go and respond to them, to then swap back to go and look at something else. And that might seem insignificant in the small scale, but over time I go, okay, that's enough that I'm like, I don't want to have to go and manage a whole another list of this or link for them. Timing wise, I just don't have that. Put it to me, I'd go, if I really wanted to create a brand new podcast to do that, like a new stream, it would almost push me at the moment to go, I'm just not going to do it. Then fuck it. I would either keep it underneath the stream of the Mere Mortals podcast, or I just wouldn't do it at all. Let's go, okay, it's not valuable enough to start it as a new. So I guess that's some of my thoughts, although there is definitely places like Chris Fisher and Adam Curry that you've mentioned where it can work better.
This is one where we'll have to probably discuss more off air. The thing with that is, I'm not sure you're imagining the experience of someone on their phone and they're seeing six episodes a week. So the book reviews, the Value for Value, the Mere Mortals, if we put all the fitness, if we put all that into one feed, that is just a massive, gigantic clusterfuck of a feed.
It is a good point. It is a good point. I guess and as much as I just said that, then I went, actually, the split of the book reviews and the podcast, that one was the right thing. That one was definitely the right thing. I wouldn't see that to be connected at all. Maybe in the fitness space, I'm slightly triggering towards or leaning towards that. We talk about fitness quite a bit in our monthly goals and a few other places. It kind of fits in a similar sense that we do monthly goals. Does the monthly goals really fit with the other things that we do in the podcast and conversations?
Yeah.
You can make ways as to that it does and some ways that it doesn't.
Look, so in this case, what I'm imagining is a separate fitness feed. And so, me cutting out the videos, or portions of the videos, this will give me a bit more free time. What I was imagining was a fitness podcast of some sort. I'm not sure exactly what you had in mind. I had a couple of ideas as well. It could be one where it's just you, it's just me, or it's both of us, or a mix of that. But definitely the niche on the fitness.
Yep.
And you wouldn't need to jump everywhere unless, once again, you're creating videos. This highly technical video that you're talking about. I'm more imagining we create it up, we set up the feed. There's no need to have extra stuff. You going here and you going there. The boostergrams, we've got that link to the Discord. We've just got multiple channels, each being like fitness podcast boostergrams, Mere Mortals boostergrams, book reviews, boostergrams, value for value boostergrams, whatever. I think that, yeah, well, we can talk more about that.
I think, and I guess this comes to another part with, I'm thinking from the fitness one. So unless, I guess in my mind at the moment, and I guess this is a deviation at the moment where we sit and probably where Valley for Valley and all that sits, that if I was to bring in a new RSS feed for, say, Mere Mortals Fitness, I'm not going to go and do the things for getting booster games for it. I just wouldn't do it. Like that to me at the moment is not of realistic value in that lens. Like I just don't care. Like I don't care to get any money from that perspective. I'm purely doing it because it enables people to be like I guess the value of for me to put out something like that isn't for me to get returned money. It's to help out others who want to like kind of get themselves from a fitness or help them out perspective on my training or get feedback on my own training. I go, that's enough of a value that I go.
How are you going to know if you're giving them value?
It would be
because we don't get comments which say, thank you for creating this in, I really got value from this in terms of on the YouTube, on the Instagram, on Twitter, on Facebook.
That's a good point.
We don't get anything. Where we get it is through the boostergram. So once again, like, the money side of things is nice, but the content, the receiving of something back is the main draw of that.
I mean, that's a good call out. I think if I was just thinking it through on the fly, to put out let's say a video like that on a week-to-week basis, which also would be a podcast, like an audio format, my ask wouldn't be, cool, hey, send me through a booster everything. Like it wouldn't be, that's not what I would be saying in those ones. It would be, if you want to check out more broader Mere Mortals Conversations, go check out here. We also do book reviews, but more specifically to what I just talked about, is there feedback on my training? Is there things here that you want to know more about? Now, in particular there, I was trying to source people putting emails onto our website to submit if they would want to get more very specific training. Why? Because that could be another source of supporting people out in other ways of getting income, right? So, but quite specifically to the boostergrams, right? Like, again, I'm going to be transparent with it. Like, I'm not, at the moment, it really would be, if I was to spend how many hours would it take to get it all set up so it's properly going through in a not advertising, but putting it properly through and doing the clips and the timings and everything to the same level of quality that our existing Mere Mortals
I don't think, look, man, or if it's audio focused, now it sounds like you want it to be video focused. Is that right?
Definitely. I would want it. Yeah, there would definitely be video aspects for this one.
Video
as well
aspects or video focused? So it's very different.
Video aspects, as in this would be displaying things the whole time through a video, but articulating with enough through the audio of what I'm talking through.
Yeah, I think you're half-assing it. You got to pick one or the other. I would say. I think if you want to do video, go the full route. Don't even bother putting an audio podcast out, if you're going to be showing things. Now, once again, you can do it with the chapter images. Not many people use it, so you'd have to be saying that. And I know you don't create chapters because you don't seem to you don't care about it that much, which is fine. I do, so I put them in. I would pick one or the other. I wouldn't go. Go half.
I guess I'd say, at least from my perspective, that sounds wrong. In an example I've just very recently listened to, which is Balaji with Peter McCormack. In that was a conversation where it very heavily favored watching it on video.
Correct.
Did not give a shit. I listened to it on audio the whole time.
Yeah.
Totally fine. It was in fact, I was like, there was some points for sure that I went, man, I really kind of wish I could see that. But I was listening to it while I was working out. I kind of fine. Like I was like, I interpret what's going on here through the audio version. Now they did just enough to enable that. If you don't, then I would say, okay, well, this is almost pointless because there's a lot of, hey, look at this. Hey, watch this video. This is the case with Joe Rogan a lot of the times where they might watch a video on TV or something happening for 10 minutes. And from an audio format, you're like, man, I don't know what the hell is going on. That's kind of a bit weird. I might just skip through this. So I could definitely see myself putting in a video and audio where there's enough of a conversion to the audio that I'm talking through, which, look, to be honest, what would be on a video would be presenting of, the first part and the strength bases and the skill set and the power bases, but it would be in the conversation of me articulating, okay, week 6 of a hat squat, this is what generally might feel that, and etc. that you're not going to get from the video. The video's not going to have that. It's just going to be a static view of a page. So I'd say you could, and I think in listening to if I was to say that yours was correct, I would go, that Balaji episode would not have worked for me. Like, it would, a mere listener, I'd gone, nah, that didn't work because they were talking about charts and things and look at this chart. But I went, nah, I kind of understood it even without having a look at the charts directly.
Yeah.
Which I guess is the differentiation, I guess, for us still that it comes to. There's a lot of features in the in podcasting 2.0 around, hey, you can look at the image that I'm talking about in the podcast and stuff like that, which I think is a difference though between us, where I think for you that's a valuable thing, and I think for the way that you might consume podcasts, it seems useful, whereas for me still I go, that just seems useful in some very limited remote concepts in the way that I listen to podcasts.
Yeah. Well, to your question before, the setting it all up, an hour. It wouldn't take long for the audio.
Per each one?
No, just 1 hour. You got the stream, you got your podcast. It wouldn't be any different from logging into Buzzsprout, whatever you do now. It would just be setting up a new feed, setting up the splits that you want for that feed, and then it's just the exact same process.
Gotcha.
So, yeah, I'm much more mindful of I think like polluting a feed is what I would kind of call it, where you're just chucking, like, if it's what you're imagining, it sounds like a solo type deal. I don't think I want that getting mixed up with our main feed.
Gotcha.
Because those are conversations. It's what people come there for. I would view that as just as different as kind of the book reviews, to be honest.
Yeah, I was thinking this through as well in terms of, well, if I was to do more fitness things, what if I had conversations with people in the fitness space? Then I went, well, I would want that to be in the Mere Mortals podcast because we do have conversations, that there would just be streams in the fitness, kind of similar to how Joe Rogan would have MMA ones and then normal sort of conversations and have different numbers, but underneath the one stream. I kind of go, well, I really wouldn't want to do it as a separate altogether podcast line where it's just fitness. I would just go, well, that would just form under conversations within the Mere Mortals. So I kind of go, okay, would I really just want to have one off with this particular fitness thing talking about this, but then bring it again into the Mere Mortals? Okay. Would that create confusion for people as well? Unsure. And I guess I haven't thought through what would be end state better for people who are consuming it as well.
Yeah. Let's talk about this more because I've got some ideas, and I think there's a way that we can do it and set it up. Probably not in the next couple of months, but after that, I think there's I've got some thoughts on that.
Okay.
Just a couple of random things. I did promise that I would give a shout out to people who are close to getting t-shirts.
Okay.
So we have Cole McCormick, who's just passed the 50K barrier.
Ooh.
Cole from America Plus, very cool. We've got Gene Bean. He should be at about 65K at the moment, so getting up there. Nice. Volunteer technologist. And then Macintosh, 91.
Oh, he's at the edge.
He's right there from the Generation Bitcoin. So there's a fair few people there who are
on the
close
way
to t-shirts. Yep. And for those who aren't wondering what that means, if you go to meremortalspodcast.com/support, you'll see there's an explanation there. If you donate a certain amount to the show, equivalent to 100,000 Satoshis, which is about $45 at the moment, we will send you a t-shirt. Mere Mortals, limited edition, only, do you remember how many we ordered? 20, 25 maybe? 20?
Maybe 25.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Not that many in existence.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
You'd be one of the fair few, and about half of those people have altered the shirts. Tie-dyed it, cut it off at the, cut the sleeves off to make it into a singlet. You know,
so even more unique.
If you're walking around.
It's original.
People are gonna go, that's a one of a kind t-shirt, right? Oh, jeez. Do you need to run off?
No.
Okay. All right. So we've talked about the branding a little bit. There's a couple of things related to refining our value for value in the website domain. Actually, I'll bring that up. So the meremortalspodcast.com, I kind of want to make that a landing zone. I think that is a good thing to have. How deeply tied is that with Wix? So if we say we want to start using WordPress, that domain name, meremortalspodcast.com, can we get that back, or is that kind of Wix's now? Do you know how that works?
So you're getting
the DNS
I think you're getting it confused. So the domain itself isn't a Wix own thing. The domain,
but we bought it kind of through
Wix,
them,
but
right?
it's a third party through to another place that owns a domain. So
which would be Namecheap or
so we could carry that name domain to wherever we want.
So that's not hard to
That's
separate.
not hard to separate.
Okay,
It is the shifting of the platform of the website / code to another.
Yeah, that would
builder.
Be yes,
like a WordPress.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Cool. All right. I just want to make sure of that because domain name's so weird, man. I remember bitching about the ICANN to you in the past, and just how silly that seems to me, where just one company controls all the domains. And yeah. Okay. All right. That's a good thing to know. All right. This is the perhaps more spicy ones.
Oh, okay.
So this is more just related to, I guess, like the money and the there's the money.
I got an
aspect.
interesting view on this yet.
Okay, so first one, money, fame, and ambition. So I only want enough to get by. So for example, if Hosky blew up, my stupid meme coin thing, if that blew up and I became a millionaire, I would have way less effort in doing things that would kind of grow the show, perhaps inorganically, or I don't know what the best way to frame it. So for example, say was starting to get popular and people were like wanting us to appear on their shows, and I was just kind of going like, and look, once there's a momentum going, you kind of want to keep it up. This is why you see Balaji going on Peter McCormack's, TFTC, you know Joe Rogan, blah blah blah. They all kind of like bounce around quickly. If I was wealthy enough, I would probably just go like, I don't know if I want to do that. And I wanted to get your thoughts on like money, fame, and ambition. How much do you care? There's also part of the video aspect. I was hearing some people just talking about being more recognized because they do video, and I'm like, dude, that just sounds like it sucks. What is your kind of like imaginings for the mere mortals in terms of the money aspect? Do you want it to be like how? Do you ever want to make money from it? Do you want it to be just enough to get by? Do you want it to be very successful? What are your kind of like long-term thoughts on that?
Well, I'd probably say a year into the podcast, I sort of visualized it. Okay, well, like we're setting up and we had the spreadsheet and tracking and, Facebook followers and Instagram followers and what we're going to do, some percentages. Increases in listenership.
That's so dumb.
But look, from a beginning perspective, what you don't measure, you're not actually managing.
Yes.
And so there's some perspective or beginning of going like, okay, well, we need to point ourselves somewhere. So we point ourselves there.
Yeah.
I think that evolved into, okay, well, what does that mean from a revenue perspective? And at the time there's advertising, there's YouTube, there's a few other things. And we stumbled upon podcasting 2.0 and that's giving through some sort of value. I think now, especially this latest tracking from financial year to the financial year that we are now, I've kind of come to a realization.
Okay.
Real realization with the podcast. And it's I think you said it, it's like, you wanted to have enough to just be like, it making it meets, that's sort of where it needs to be. I went, I actually, full flat now, just don't care. Don't care in the sense of like, it could be bringing $0, wouldn't matter to me. So a lot of my decisions now are, cool, I'm going to do things for the podcast and the people that I'm putting value. And the value is no longer, and maybe this is where it's slightly different to me around the value for value model of the podcasting 2.0.
Yeah.
Where I'll definitely will ask people of, hey, if you want to support us through this method of sending through bootstraps, it is kind of like the funnest way, let's just say, because you're sending through value, we can comment on it, it's directly on something. I do still find that better than a random comment or a random subscription. That's better. But I go, honestly, at the end, that's not the value that I so much care to impart anymore. I go, you want to talk about making money in a podcasting perspective? Unless you're at the very top few, you're not making that much. And honestly, I've been looking at a couple of things through lately. Man, there's way better ways to make money. Honestly, way better ways. And I went, in terms of the hours spent on some of the things I'm doing, like you mentioned, hey, it's only an hour to set this up. There's only a few other things. You start realizing, I think, for myself, I went, now having a family, there's a reduced amount of time. There's a lot of things that I'm dealing and managing at the moment. An hour spent here, that's hundreds of dollars I'm losing somewhere else in doing something. And I go, I want to do it because it's not that I'm expecting X amount of return from it. So a lot of the things that I'm wanting to do in terms of the quality of the video productions or audio or conversations are fun. They're fun and they're valuable for me, hopefully valuable for other people. Here's another example. I'm going to have a conversation with Jeff Yu next week. Do I expect that to have any boost grams or any value come through? Not at all. In fact, couldn't give shit. Could not give like a zero amount of if that makes $1,000 or $0. What I do care about it is asking questions that are interesting for people to find that interesting, specifically some of the conversations around CBDCs and what it is in terms of regulations here in Australia that I'm interested about. I think other people will be interested about. I go, hey, if there's enough people listening to this and find value from it, that's value in itself. I've had real fun to do it, and I take time out of my day for it. So for me to make decisions, kind of like we're playing back around, hey, if we create another different podcast, it helps people to absorb it and maybe get more boostergram. That's me. I go, cool. If it helps that way, let's do it. For me personally, I go, I don't care. I don't really care. But, and then you get to the fame. Nah, I don't want to be.
I think we're both agreed on that. Ambition is probably more the other one.
Yeah. And so,
is there an ambition you have for the mere mortals?
I think the ambition for sure. The ambition is to build enough of a cohort of the mere mortals ecosystem that it's people that are thinking, talking around similar things. Once again, one of the things I did many months ago, almost nearly a year ago now, from a goals perspective, was I wanted to create my own sounding board. This is kind of how I see the podcast in terms of me being able to put out information, conversations, thoughts, ideas that can be sort of found within an ecosystem where it is a sounding board. So, whether you want to support or not through a boostgramming Value for Value channel, awesome. That does help. The end value, though, that I want is almost to create a culture of almost a sounding board for myself, for the mere mortals, for others, where it could be, hey, I've got a thought about, and this is when it comes to fitness, hey, I'm doing this particular thing per week, or I'm doing this. I would want to build, not every person within the community might have this information, but there might be someone in there and be like, oh, actually, I tried this, I did something similar, or I did this, and I'm actually getting this different experience. Okay, I think that's more valuable end state for me, or at least what I'm going to find myself optimizing for.
Yeah. Once again, the sounding board, it's good, but the best sounding board we have has been through boostergrams. And so it's not, for me, it's definitely like, oh, we can kind of make some money and we get this amazing resource of people actually tuning in. Because if you think of how many people have we begged over the years to leave us reviews on Apple iTunes? They didn't. They did when I personally sent them messages them up for via Instagram. Leaving comments, they didn't. Talk to us, join the Discord, they didn't. And look, a lot of this, once again, is on us. I don't think are the greatest at building community. That's, once again, one of our weaknesses, but I think we are now starting to find it with the boostergrams and the messages. So, in that aspect, look, I'm the more money grubby of the two of us, because for me, this is how I want to create a living, and so it will need to have at least some strategic thoughts in my head about it. So getting onto, for example, money splits. So I watched this Joe Rogan episode where he was talking with the lead singer of the Smashing Pumpkins. Smashing Pumpkins?
No, I just can't remember the name of the lead.
I'm skipping on his name. One of the things he was saying was, and this really stuck in my mind, was he was the main music creator, the writer of the music. I can't remember what that actual name of the person is. So he was creating most of the music, and he asked from the record companies and from his bandmates, he was saying, I'm doing more work than you. I want a bigger split. Fair. Yeah, sure. You could say that's fair. He was saying, in the end, that was a mistake. They should have just split it evenly, because that ended up creating so much conflicts, so much drama, that and basically splitting up the band, that he shouldn't have done that. He should have just said, look, I'm putting in more effort. I'm just going to have to, suck it up for the kind of like long-term potential, or not even suck it up, just rewire your brain to realize there's perhaps value being done in different ways. And I see us in a kind of similar conflict, which is, I'm doing the video editing, the audio editing. You show up to a lot of stuff. I'm doing the posting. And I want to make sure that we don't fall into a similar thing, which could happen. So, for example, At the moment, the splits are even. 30% to you, 30% to me, 30% to a joint one, 10% to developers. The value for value show, this is where we need to have discussions. At the moment, I've got kind of like 50% to me, 30% to the kind of joint account, and then the rest is to developers. Or helpers. In the future, you know, I just want to make sure like I don't get to a point where it's like I am literally fucking out of money. I can't do the podcast anymore because I need to go back to my old engineering job or some other sort. You know, thankfully, you have a large income from your normal job, and that is less of a concern, as you just said. So, in terms of, one, I do want to make enough from the podcast to get by. That's strategic on my part. Two, I want to make sure that it's not going to be something that causes a rift between us. So, what are your thoughts on, like, you know, a year's time, we're making 40 grand a year, we're splitting that evenly, and I'm going like, hey, Juan, I can't survive by on 20 grand a year. We either need to like change the splits, or I'm going to have to like just step away.
Yeah, that's a good call, actually. And here's interesting because, you know, I've had experience now definitely working with, well, doing business things with other friends as well.
And I haven't.
Yeah, exactly.
This is my one and only
One
experience.
of the things I've seen, and you know, there's actually, as almost as you said it, and from what I just articulated before, it feels like it's a no-brainer. And as I'm about to say it, I think people will go, no, that kind of sounds like it sounds bullshit. And maybe part of me will go, oh, would I get greedy or something? But I think the reality is, once again, I kind of like have to found myself in, hey, I just called it out. I want to do the podcast, and it doesn't really matter in the money. Now, obviously, there is a level that it makes sense that, you know, all of a sudden we're talking not 40 grand, but we're talking 4 million. Okay. There's reality that if you can build now this up versus what I'm doing, then okay, that's a whole different kettle of fish.
I'm not even sure it's worth saying that, because the best people that I see, Adam Curry, I don't think you're going to get better than him at this. Like, he fucking created this model, at least through value for value, and we'll talk about that in a second. That it's not that level. It's, well, once again, I think it's at the kind of like $500,000 to $1 million range. You know,
sure, but and I think this is where we probably differ in that what you're and this is probably like a long-term view. What do you see as like the Mere Mortals podcast, right? I kind of drop the podcast out of it, right? I'm just talking Mere Mortals as a continuum. There is much broader things than just a podcast, and so I go,
I see that as well.
Then I'm not talking $500,000, $1 billion. I'm talking much more than that in a very wide array of things.
All right, maybe we are talking slightly different.
Now, in that relation, I go, okay, then that's a very different kettle of fish. I'll look at it. But yeah, if we're talking, dude, like, honestly, I'd have to like kind of run the numbers in my mind of what that looks like. But if the reality is, hey, the podcast's making 80 grand a year, I'd be like, where I sit today, I'd go, I don't care about taking a single dollar out of that in terms of pulling it out. I'd go, well, whether that stays with you in terms of just living plus investing in the Mere Mortals to continue growing, fuck it, who cares? There might come a point in time where it's like, okay, now it makes sense that, you know, we're getting above it, just like the bare minimum of it. Now it's starting to be enough that it's, or you can pool plus you can really grow with it. Okay, there's a different ceiling entirely. But I think where I stand today, I go, nah, I feel comfortable to, like, if you pose that to me where, hey, it's making 40 grand, 20 grand's going to me, 20 grand's going to you. One, I can't, like, we can continue another year, but I'm going to have to start, like, pulling out 20 grand. Right now, I think I'd say, cool, that makes sense to me. That actually makes sense because it enables the podcast to keep growing. Because theoretically, if it couldn't, then it wouldn't be around and then you wouldn't have it anymore. So that's a very straightforward conversation to me. Now, this also very much comes down to, at the moment, the way that I'm structuring my financial life.
Yeah, like
this is very interesting because for most people, I'll reveal something that I guess it's not the fullity. But at this stage in time, I don't care to build more assets. That doesn't matter to me. I need to build varying income streams for very particular reasons. And so for me, I don't particularly care to own things to a certain extent and to be building money from it. I do care about revenue streams. Now, yes, you just did mention that would be a revenue stream in that particular sense. Right now, where I need it, it's not enough to even be the stream that I need. So it's kind of like, well, no point. If it did, though, then I go, okay, cool. Then we have to kind of discuss it because for that, then it helps me do certain things. And so I go, okay, then there's a different kettle of fish there. But for that sort of level, I go, that's not an issue to me. In fact, even if we decided right now, in the way that I'm thinking value, at the moment we're getting 30%, as you say, 30% split for yourself, myself, for the joint one that we use, and then 10% to developers. If we needed to, if you felt, because you're much more involved in the space, again, hey, actually, if we pulled all of that back in and just reused it for whatever purpose, I'd be like, awesome. As long as the end outcome for me is that we're getting either more people tuning in or more value to people by listening to us, cool. That sounds good.
Yeah.
Rock and roll. Let's go with that. Because at the moment, it's not a differentiator for me in that regard.
Yeah, my general thoughts were I want to avoid the it's Billy something, the Smashing Pumpkins. Billy Corbin? Something like that. I think that sounds right. I want to avoid that scenario. And so basically, like, you know, bare minimum is we split everything until we recoup costs of the investment of just like cameras and that stuff, and ongoing expenses of audio hosting and things. I want to keep it a split until, honestly, I never want to change it. If that can be the way to go,
that can be maintained, just leave it at that.
That is how I would do it, and it would only be if I got into like relatively desperate straits where I would be saying that to you. And yeah. So that's kind of like the monetary aspect. We'll talk about wallet management maybe a little bit later off the show as well, because I got an interesting offer at the Bitcoin meetup I went to. So the last one, the spiciest of all, I've written down potential conflicts. V for V or die. So I want to make sure, because I don't think I've ever actually asked you. Are you comfortable going only value for value and not doing advertising? Because I kind of feel like I've forced this upon you.
Yeah.
And
well, definitely.
I know you don't care as much as I do about this.
One, I don't care for sure, but two, absolutely. So I think let's be broad scaling when we're talking about value for value here and the distinction of advertising. Sometimes when we say value for value in this podcast, or you might hear it, you might think that it's just purely the podcasting 2.0 space thing that we talk about.
Listener support is...
But it isn't. It isn't, I guess, for me. So I'm definitely value for value or die, in the sense that I don't want to go to another company and say, hey, if you give us $1,000, I will promote your podcast by saying this. Not a single chance that I ever want to do that. Okay. Never going to happen. I never want to acquire money through that format. I just don't. Ultimately, it's not a valuable thing that I think I want to share. Now, is there formats in where I can provide value to you that might sound like an advertiser? And so what I mean by this is, let's take the fitness thing once again. Say, hey, I'm doing these things with fitness. I've gotten 10 people on board. Each one's paying $50. If you want to join in, pay me $50 a week or per month. That, I kind of look away from being advertising and more, hey, this is value that I'm doing this way. Different. That's why I want you to sort through. Yeah. So that I can see myself formally doing. But man, after listening to something like Ryan Holidays and the injected ads, I go,
they're nasty,
I don't want this. And again, goes back to like, honestly, if someone like, this is not going to happen right now, but if someone like Spotify came to us like, hey, we'll buy you for $10 million and we'll inject ads, I kind of feel like I don't know the position, and obviously we'd offered, we'd have to talk about it, but realistically, I would want to start the conversation with, can we please just remove ads from any of this content? Like, please don't have any ads. And if it was like, oh no, we're going to have injected ads, but there's a very real possibility. I'll be like, I just don't want to do that. I just don't want to do that.
I'll reiterate my point, and I've said never, never a lot of times, but I'm serious this time.
This is never serious.
If Spotify came for $10 million and offered to buy us out, it would be a flat no. And I want to kind of warn you about this, because if this ever happens where it's like, you get into some financial straits or something, and we have an easy offer for quick money for ads, I'm going to say no. And it's going to be like, I'm sorry, Juan, even if you're like fucking struggling at the moment, I can't do this. So just so you know, and vice versa for me, like if I'm really struggling, it'll be like, I would rather stop the podcast than put ads in.
Sure.
And look, what you were talking about, I think is kind of slightly separate, which is the Meermals brand. You were mentioning before about getting an intern Perhaps doing that, offloading some work that we could do. There's another podcaster here in Brisbane who was telling me about how his cousin is helping him out, and his cousin is doing audio stuff at university, so it's kind of like makes sense. I'm kind of really cool with you doing things outside of it, as long as I don't have to touch it. So, for example, with this fitness one, if you do that all yourself, if you manage it all yourself, it's still under the mere mortals. It's not value for value, because you'd be asking for a certain amount from them. It's a subscription, way better than advertising, but still not like the value for value or die. If you're doing that, I'm kind of cool with that. I'm fine with that. Same with, like, you were talking about the cock punch thing, using that as an incentive. Yeah, fucking go nuts. I don't really mind. And there's the interesting thing with ads, is a lot of it actually is this time chewing up, which you were saying, your time's super valuable. If you get ads, if you have people who you've created a service for, you're going to be doing a lot of customer management of meetings, of people going like,
100%, yep.
One, that you didn't deliver this on time, or, this isn't formatted properly. I can't get access. I need, new login details. My friend didn't, blah, blah, blah. I want to avoid as much of that as possible. If we get an intern, like, I want you to be doing the performance reviews, negotiations, things like I don't want to touch it.
Yeah, no, and that's very cool.
But once again, I'm kind of cool. Like, if you want to create something off the side, I just don't want to touch it, to be honest.
Yeah. So and going back to, I guess, the broad topic that we're talking about here, episode 400, around what's to come of the podcast, what's to change. So to give you an example, like, I think I am going to put together this fitness conversation or thing that I present on a weekly basis. Now, where it comes to me doing it underneath the Mere Mortals podcast, hey, I'll do it there, and I'll create video and audio, and I'll manage that, and I'll put it together. But if, as you said, like in a few months, you go, hey, I'm going to put it under a separate RSS feed. I'm going to have it as called the Mere Mortals, like fitness, and then we have conversations, and we can just put things into there. Cool, I'll just put it under there. Like, it kind of doesn't fluster me either way.
If it doesn't affect you.
Yeah, for me, I kind of go, like, it doesn't matter. Either way.
Yeah, I think this is like a good balance to have. If I'm willing to put in the effort and it doesn't bother you, like, I'll do it. If you want to put in the effort for a sponsorship thing off the side or whatever the fuck it is,
exactly. Ads though. Exactly. But if the shift would be, example here for the book reviews, the book reviews that you put together, you're optimizing them as well in somewhat for it to be for the podcasting 2.0 space, right? There's chapters.
Well, no, I'm going to change that.
Right. Okay. Ooh, there you go. Okay, but say
basically, I want to go live. I want to emphasize the PayPal or the Mere Mortals brand,
right.
Probably more the brand, to be honest. And I think I want to make them less intensive than they have been. Gotcha. They're chewing up so much time, and I'm just not seeing.
And look, and this might be, and once again, this is the story still develops, right? Whatever we say here is not, it's going to be the full end state. And so what you'll probably start seeing is that from a current perspective, there'll be that, which is more of a, not so much pulling back, but a time efficiency in some things, where you'll see me, and this just comes by nature of what we're doing. You're putting together 3 to 4 book reviews a month. I'm doing at best 1 book review a month. And so my 1 book review a month is probably going to be more high quality. Like, it's going to be, I'm going to target it toward a really high quality. So at the moment, when I did the last one, you saw the notes that I put. I did a lot of notes. I think maybe the next one's going to be really good camera work. It's going to be different views. So yes, it might. But for me, I'd go, okay, 1 a month. I can spend the extra 2-3 hours on one. You can't really do that, an extra 2-3 hours on 4 of them. That's 12. No. 12 hours. That's not reasonable for you, right? So it's kind of depends how much you can actually spend.
To be honest, I kind of have tried that,
and it didn't work so much.
Yeah. Like, I would record something and I would redo sentences if I had an in the sentence, and then I would do this kind of splicing method.
Sorry, and it's not the and I guess this gets to the quality of what you want to do. Mine wouldn't be, and maybe it goes away a little bit from the optimization of the audio or the articulation of something, but more making it interesting to a viewer. And so here's where I go with a book review. That might be more of a viewer thing, where I'm trying to put videos and clips and images and relevancies, or it might be me trying to articulate through audio format linkages and other things, which takes much more effort. You might, again, there's one of those things where I'm going, okay, I can put that capacity towards doing one a month if I'm doing that. And I might do it for 3 months and go, okay, I'm investing 9 hours here over 3 months and it's not worth it. Cool. Stop doing it.
Yeah.
You got to play with that to see whether it's valuable or not.
I'm going to be interested in this. If I had to predict, I will say it'll chew up too much time for you. Time that.
But yeah, I wouldn't want to be like spending it again.
You know, you did that kind of really good one for the CrossFit Torian, that video.
Correct.
You put in a lot of time. Did that hit your expectations?
Honestly, I can't remember specifically then what I was thinking from a viewer, but honestly, I would have said it would have been like 10,000 views. I don't even think it hit 1,000. So I went, okay, I think I actually calculated down that for the hours that I spent on it.
It was something like 1 view per hour.
It was like, it was something like 10 views per hour, something to that effect. Where I went, okay, no, that's not worth the amount of effort that I put down into it.
Yeah, once again.
Although it was fun. So then, I kind of balance it with, well, that was a fun thing to do. So would I have done it again? I could see myself being like, that'd be fun to do again, even if it wasn't for any views. So do you also include that into the equation?
Yeah. With the family stuff now, I'd just say your definition of fun is probably not going to revolve around as much sitting
correct. Well, I mean, reflecting back, one of the very episodes we used to do way back in the original podcasting days, we did the Mere Mortal challenges. And one of the challenges was the 1,000 push-ups over an hour. And I've looked back at that one and go, man, like the video quality of that is so shit.
Yeah.
The audio quality is so shit. It could have been
I thought that was okay.
Not bad, but it could be when you compare it to a YouTube optimized video, nowhere near close. But it was fun. And I could see myself doing it again for fun. Now, it's just whether you then would want to invest a level of editing and time making it to make it that much more valuable. And again, who you're making it valuable for. So
yeah, definitely. Sustainability, man. What would it take for you to still be doing this in 5 years' time? Because, for example, my family, I don't even want to ask them what they think of the podcast and what I've been doing the last 3 years. I know my dad would just be like, it's the kind of, which is why I love him. He'd be like, if people do whatever the hell they want to do, that's in their free time for, good on them. It's that attitude of kind of like, I have to force myself to not say, I think you're a fucking idiot. Basically, which is kind of what I want to do. Sometimes it is genuine apathy. I don't care what people do in their free time. I don't care if you love hating on my bald head on the Instagram comments, like, I don't care that much. Like, if you want to go do that elsewhere, that's fine. I just don't want it particularly towards me. But family-wise, friend-wise, the kind of like social aspect, do you, and I'm just trying to like bring up any more potential conflicts so we can kind of talk about them now. Is there anything that would stop you from participating in the Mere Mortals? Is there anything that would make you go like, I don't know if I want to keep doing this, or it's like having a negative impact on this aspect of my life?
I think it's only if it would enter upon, or if it would encroach upon
like
a more day-to-day, time-wise ask. So if it all of a sudden became an imposition for me to have 30 things,
you have to do a daily episode,
yeah, like a daily episode, or hey, no, a book review's got to be out every fortnight for this. I just know I'm not going to be able to put in the effort to do it for that sort of reusability.
Yeah,
it's not going to happen. Similarly with, and this is why I don't want to get in the train of optimizing for views or something else, right? You put out a podcast, and this is way back in the day when we did, you did Solzhenitsyn book review, right?
Yes.
That got a massive amount of views, and the reality is what, you guys talked about from a YouTube perspective, and the algorithm is once something like that, pump out as many more episodes as you can around this because you want to ride the bandwagon. I don't want to get caught onto that.
Neither.
I don't want to have to be like, okay, now I've got to put out an episode in the next week about this, so make sure. Don't give a shit. I don't want to be participating in that.
That's kind of what I was talking about with the, if people were wanting to interview us and they, we're getting all these offers, and I'm just like, I'm drained. I don't want to do this.
Yeah.
That's similar. That's the vein I was trying to get at.
And I think I'm just fortunate enough now that for the large majority of what I do now, I can just impose what I want as opposed to having to chase things down, right? I don't have to go to, hey, this person wants to enter me. Oh, awesome. I'll jump to do it. Don't have to. Yeah. I don't really have to. In my personal life, beyond the podcast, I'm fine. I'm doing fine. It's all good. The podcast is not what's making me and my family survive. So for me, it's fun. It's a hobby. So if it went past the point where it was considered encroaching onto other things that are much more of a, hey, that is very important for me, absolutely. That wouldn't be happening. Maybe the clearest way I would say it is if in my annual goals, it started encroaching upon other things that I'm finding that are quite important in my life and it's taken away, I go, okay, there's a level here of how much is it contributing and taking away. It's different, obviously, if, once again, the podcast is making a large amount of money to the point that, I'll put it this way. Even if the podcast started making a large amount of money and it required a lot more effort, say on my part personally, I'm still at that point going to be leaning towards, cool, I'm going to hire someone to manage all of that as opposed to me taking away the time to be doing for that.
Yeah, I feel you, man. The kind of where I see it in 5 years' time, I do think it'll still largely be not a big team. I don't want to manage people. If that was going to happen, I don't want a large team either. If that was going to happen, it would be Juan managing it, and I'd just be the kind of
now. What do you mean by a large team?
More than 4 or 5 people.
Gotcha.
Yeah, that's large for me.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'll tell you, I've managed large teams, I've managed smaller teams. I'd say anything more than 6 or 7, that's starting to get a little bit too large, or you're just having to put a lot more constraints and practices in place. Mm-hmm. Underneath that, you can manage that really quite fairly light touch in a way. Normally, when it comes to business, it's a rough guide that normally the way that your business operates or has the operations or logically runs changes when it goes from 1 to 3, 3 to 10, 10 to 30, 30 to 100. That's your general leaps.
Yeah.
So once you get to beyond 3, yes, you need some operations in place. When you get to 10, it kind of changes entirely because then you have management of management.
Yes,
and so it goes.
correct, yeah.
And so you're right. I want to just get it to that first level where there might be slight amount of things that you manage, where it might be operational pay runs, where it might be scheduling of certain things, but it's direct. It's a one-to-one. It's not one to a manager that manages other people. Yeah. I don't want to get to that sort of level of abstraction.
100% for that, and even for the light touches, I'm probably not suited for that. As I've said many times in the past, any type of leadership position I have shied away from, actively worked to not get, because I don't want to do that. Okay, last one. Probably just the last thing. What could cause any resentment, do you think? I think the future is bright, but the main thing that you see that stops a show or stops a brand from occurring, I think, is resentment being built up, the founders hating each other, anything like that. Is there anything that you think that could potentially drive a wedge between us? Any problems?
One weird one that I guess, I don't know how I would think this through, but if we are putting a lot of effort and idea or mind space into the podcasting 2.0 Valley for Valley space, if it came about that in 3 years, 4 year time, it wasn't the next thing, it wasn't the thing that's to actually pursue down the path of, or it gets embroiled into issues or complexities, whatever you have, and we don't adapt to change, I'd go, okay, that might be something that is okay, why are we just deciding to become embroiled as part of it, or just don't want to shy away because now we've got time sink into it, thinking that it's going to become such and such thing.
I getcha. Yeah.
That's when I would go, I don't know if now we're doing this for the right thing, or we're doing it purely because of the invested time that's in here. So, as we sit right now in 2023, we still view it as, I think, in the way that you can have 1,000 true fans that really support you and make money from. That's probably going to be the great way for many podcasters, musicians out there. Awesome. But if in 3-5 years that's not the case, and maybe it gets seen in a bad light, or it goes to shit, or there's not many people supporting it, and we still go, okay, no, that's the way we want to do it, even though there's now maybe obvious signs where it shouldn't, and we don't move away from it to view what other possibilities there are, then that might be something where it's okay, yeah, there's going to be some frank, open conversations about this, because then what is the next path moving forward?
That's a good point. I don't think either of us are the type to get too drawn into the kind of cult like nature. The how would I put this? I think the aspect of value for value kind of rules out some of the problems with that, because value is very subjective. So if we found, internet changes, the Apple Vision Pro is now this amazing thing, and people are transferring value within a certain context within that ecosystem, and that's like the biggest thing.
Yeah.
And it's not through micropayments of Bitcoin. I'm okay with being like, yeah, we'll go where the value is. Obviously, if people are wanting to send us through, I don't know what you call them, apples, Applees in the Vision Pro, sure, we go down that path. So it's more the more I guess like underlying base aspect would be, would either of us get to a point where we kind of have like not enough faith in humanity that good effort is rewarded and it needs to be kind of extracted, in a, like, it's not doable in a voluntary aspect. It has to be done in a more heavy-handed, forceful aspect.
Yeah, like in a stick axe way of asking, like, you have to give me now for this.
Yes, and there's reason you do it this way, because you want a more guaranteed income stream. The value for value, by its nature, is going to fluctuate. So that's the only way where I could potentially see some conflicts, or perhaps just something related to, because we do have definitely slight differences in terms of, I think, once again, the ambition. I think if you saw something really kicking off and it did have that kind of momentum behind it, and you're like, if we just did this thing, if we just started promoting here, if we just started doing that, I could see myself being like, I don't want to do that one. Like, that doesn't sound right to me. That's the only kind of way where I could kind of see it. But I think for the most part, that's the kind of stuff where it's like, well, if you get into a massive brain injury through a car crash and your personality completely changes, which does happen.
Yep, that's true.
It's kind of on that level of like unpredictableness. I don't think that's
yeah, that's not something you plan for, I guess.
Yeah.
In that respect.
Yeah. No, this was good, man. I'm glad we did this. Is there anything else you wanted to bring up?
I was trying to think, I guess, maybe to close off episode 400, looking back, there's evolutions that the Mere Mortals has gone through, to be honest. We've talked about 1.0, which is probably, us not really caring about it, just doing it out of the house.
That was just like haphazard.
That was just doing it. That was doing it for doing it.
Oh, yeah, seeing if we
then it
enjoyed
evolved into let's track things.
Let's be more strategic. There was some thoughts on how we could make a better product.
Then it went to 3.0, which is a much better product, visualization, videos, clips. Then it moved into podcasting 2.0. So that might be like the 4.0 version of the Immortals. And I think this is probably the starting to shift into the 5.0. Why? Because we're starting to set it up in a way that we are realistically at the cusp of the podcast starting to be self-sufficient in itself, but it's now going to have to be established in a way that you can run in a more lean method, a more efficient method, because the reality is I've got less time. You're going to have less time if you start traveling and doing different things. It's going to have to be set up in a way that it can be run in a very lean way, in a very efficient way, but still like a valuable way.
It will always be lean. We will never have a studio Tom Bilyeu.
Yeah,
that is never going to happen.
I don't think I ever want that unless I've just got the funds to do it for funsies.
Yeah, maybe if Juan gets so fucking rich that in his house he can do that.
Exactly.
Camera just shut off, so you keep talking, man.
Keep talking. But look, we'll leave it there as our camera shuts down. I will say, thank you very much, Mere Mortalites, for joining in for episode 400. It has been a bit of a long one, but hopefully an enlightening one. This is still something that we discuss and talk through and think about openly here. I'm sure there'll be other conversations that we have offline, but the reality is that it is always an evolving thing. And whether, if you're out there creating something, building something, a business, an idea, whatever it may be prepared to go through evolutions through it, right? Whatever you think it's going to be like in day one, it's going to change. When we began, we didn't know podcasting 2.0 was a thing going around.
It wasn't a thing.
It wasn't a thing, right?
Yeah.
So, at no point would we ever have thought that that's the possibility that we're going down, which we are now. And so we also have to be, quite open and honest that it might shift and change as well as we go on, but we're now just starting to set new directions given where we are right now.
I think one of the biggest things is the actual openness and honesty. I'm glad we actually did this on camera. I think this is really valuable. And there's this guy from the Bitcoin meetup, Piers. When I was presenting this whole thing, he asked I did a value for value presentation. And at the end, he was like, what do you think about audience capture? And this was, I thought, a really great question, because he was saying, with this model, will you get more captured by your audience? Because now there is there's no barrier. There used to be, if you do it through advertising, there's this kind of barrier between you and your audience, because you're not making your money from you're making your money from your audience, but it's very indirectly. Whereas if it's value for value, and you've got Peter the Slav sending in 1 million sats, and he's very, very pro Bitcoin, anti NFTs. And look, we talked about NFTs, and that was, from what I gather, one of the reasons he stopped tuning in for a while. Is that audience capture a stronger thing? Is that something you're thinking about? Do you have to worry about that? And I thought that was a really good question. I kind of answered it by being, we try and manage that ourselves. You're going to have that no matter what, even if you're using these other platforms. And our third biggest contributor is the nameless support. It is the people who have just sent things in without
streaming anonymous, and that is kind of a protective barrier as well. So just the honesty and being open and talking about these things. It's not particularly fun to ask one like, oh, can I have more splits? or say like, in the future I might need more splits, but it's better to bring it up now before there's an issue. I'll tell you this right now, obviously, because I've just been going probably through it in a few different areas and dealt with it before in the past. This is still, by far and large, a very easy,
easy
conversation in terms of business.
So easy.
The reality, I mean, if people in Model at Home have run proper businesses or done anything like that, you can get more complex and more hairy very quick. So
the amount of, I can remember like 5 times we've been pissed off at each other. Probably one of them was on the podcast. Remember Peter the Slav being like, man, that was a testy episode. And we're just both pissed off at each other for whatever reason on that day. But the amount of like serious, uncomfortable conversations we've had has been limited to probably like 3 or 4. And like they weren't serious. They
weren't serious or uncomfortable.
It was just me in my mind being like, fuck Juan, he doesn't fucking understand. And Juan being like, Karen's been anal about this stupid thing about, making sure that we don't have spelling mistakes or whatnot.
So look, let's summarize it. So what we're saying here in episode 400 is that advertising starting from tomorrow. All you're going to get is injected ads every 30 seconds. None. You're going to have no ads apart from anything that we are deeming as being more valuable for you, mere mortalites. So we have been talking a lot about podcasting 2.0 and value for value. What that means, again, if you're not aware of it, is that we're going to continue to enable you at home to support us by way of sending a boostergram or Satoshis through streaming in the podcasting 2.0 platforms out there. Now, whether you use them a lot or whether you don't, like for me, I use them sometimes. I don't use them all the time. And that's because the way that I interact with podcasting to this day is different. But if it is valuable through those channels and you want to support us, that's the main way we ask. Send us through some boostergrams. It's the best way for us to interact with you. We read the comments out. We're actually caring to talk it very directly and answer it very directly. If you're asking a question, you can still send through comments and messages through other platforms, but that's going to be the best way.
But are you gonna? I haven't seen you.
You can go on our website now. It'll be, I don't know if by this time this comes out, that'll be enabled, but the ability for you to pay through PayPal or support us through PayPal on the website. I still
need to fix up that.
That'll take a while, but that's going to become available to the website.
It'll get there.
Out here in Brizzy, right, we have about, we've had about 10 people scan the A-frame that we use to go to our website. Again, that's missing opportunities for people to support us in that way. I don't know if a random's going to do that on the first go, but they could. It might just be something simple. I remember going to some pages that say, buy me a coffee or something like that, and so people send through $3.50 in that regard. Obviously, coffee's now like $6, but who knows? In any case, me and Mortalize, I hope you enjoyed this much more transparent conversation.
Yep. One thing I did want to mention was if you are going to send in an amount, it is fun if you send in something that's special to you. I mean, one that is an easy, obvious one for today is the 400. Celebrating 400 episodes. We didn't really celebrate that much, but like, kudos one, and that's a massive achievement on both of our parts. And so send in like 400,000 sats, 40,000 sats, 400 Bitcoin.
Whatever's game. You want to say 400 Bitcoin?
Yeah.
Feel free to do it.
On the PayPal link that's in the show notes, $4, $40, $400, whatever you want. Just, that's the value for value. How much value you got from this podcast. We just ask that you send that back to us. And please, like with the message, as we were saying, the money aspect is important, but if we can make it boring, that's cool. And it's what you got from it, the feedback, which is way more valuable in our eyes.
Absolutely. All right, Immortalize, we're going to leave it there. Thank you very much.
This might be our biggest episode ever.
I think so. Down to one camera. We'll leave it there, folks. One out.
Karen out. Peace.
400, bitch.
You.